Okay, Epi 633, week 5, lecture 3, tropical disease overview. We're going to be talking about virus this day. Some are going to be, what we think about tropical disease. Other things are going to be stuff that we see here as well. But this is going to be an overview of what viruses are considered to be in the tropical disease group. So here's a nice picture. We can see from the Financial Times illustrating each various kinds of tropical diseases. We've got leishmaniasis over there in the hand, right? Little thing on the hand. We got river blindness. We got malaria with the mosquito. We got intestinal worms. We got guinea worm there. All different kinds of things. Really cool picture, I think. But that's just me. Types of tropical diseases. Obviously, there are different types of tropical diseases that come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes, from virus to bacteria to parasites. And they occupy a variety of transmission pathways that you can think of: direct, indirect, vector-borne, horizontal, vertical, anything you can think of. Remember those terms that we learned before. And there's wide ranges of host pathogen evolutionary adaptations and wide ranges of impact on human health and society. And these impacts are dynamic. They're not static. They change over time with changes in human society, in population dynamics and age pyramids and all these different things. So we're going to talk about a few of them today, but today we're going to focus on viruses. First one we talk about is arboviruses, which when I was starting out, I thought arboviruses meant viruses from the forest, which is obviously completely wrong. The term arboviruses is short for arthropod-borne viruses. Arthropods include many of the medically important bugs, such as mosquitoes, ticks, flies, etc., that may transmit pathogens to humans. Arboviruses are of special relevance of tropical diseases. An example of an arbovirus is dengue fever, which I assume that most people have probably heard of. It tends to make the news in the U.S. from time to time because it's basically at our doorstep in Mexico, and I think has been found in the Keys of Florida. Dengue fever is caused by a mosquito-borne flavivirus transmitted by the vector Aedes aegypti, and you can see a picture of it here. It's a really nice-looking mosquito with white spots on its black body. It's I think it's kind of sleek-looking. It's found in tropical and subtropical regions in the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Australia. In its acute form, dengue is characterized by flu-like symptoms, like everything else, really, including severe pain in the head, eyes, muscles, and joints. In some cases, particularly in children and immunocompromised people, it can progress to dengue hemorrhagic fever, which, trust me, you do not want. Incidence of both forms of dengue infection has recently been increasing with increased urbanization and climate change. And also increased diagnostic tools, for sure. So yeah, dengue fever is definitely an important disease right now. There are 4 different serotypes of dengue fever: Den 1, 2, 3, and 4. These 4 viruses are called serotypes because each has a different interactions with antibodies in the human blood serum. And none of these provide cross immunity against the others. And also, you can get dengue once and that doesn't protect you from infections in the future. And the adage is that, you get dengue the first time and you think you're going to die, and the second time you want to die because the symptoms can actually get more severe with repeated infections. We can see here also in this figure that the dengue serotypes don't all have the same season, which is interesting. Season, being incidence year on year, even, I don't know. I find this very interesting, to be honest with you. Dengue fever is found around the world, Brazil, South America, Mexico, Asia. Africa is a big unknown here. I have talked to several doctors in Kenya, for example, that swear they're getting dengue cases. But most clinics lack the diagnostic tools to properly diagnose them. So it's flying under the radar to some extent in Africa, and I think this is sort of an opportunity for research. Next, arbovirus yellow fever, which was in the past found here in the United States, and through intense efforts to eliminate yellow fever and the creation of a vaccine has reduced incidence to none here in the U.S. It's characterized by fever, hemorrhage, and often fatal liver complications. It's now limited to South America and Africa, where it is sometimes epidemic in spite of the existence of a safe and effective vaccine. The potential for increased incidence of yellow fever appears to be growing with the expanded distribution of the vector Aedes. Aedes is, of course, the same mosquito that transmits dengue fever. There's two phases of yellow fever. The first is relatively mild, and you improve and you think you're well, and then phase 2 hits, and that's where things become toxic for sure. Many of you, I don't know, some of you, I know I do, have a yellow card to certify their yellow fever vaccination that they've had in the past. And in many countries, you are not allowed to board the plane to that country without your yellow card. Humans, all primates, and most monkeys are susceptible to yellow fever, and it's related to West Nile virus, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. Yellow fever is found throughout the African continent, with the exception of eastern Kenya, Somalia, presumably because the vectors aren't there. I'm not sure why. I'm not really sure why, to be honest with you. It's rare to hear of yellow fever cases in Kenya. I've honestly not heard a whole lot about it, but it might be there for sure. And again, if you travel to a non-yellow fever country from one of these countries, they will ask you for your yellow card for sure. And the yellow fever vaccine is not cheap, just saying that, but get it anyway. Rotaviruses. Rotaviruses are found throughout the world. They cause watery diarrhea and vomiting, primarily in children. Transmission is usually due to contact with infected individuals or fecally contaminated objects. Majority of infections are self-limiting, but infant mortality is much higher in developing countries and is generally associated with severe dehydration. Treatment consists of replacing lost fluids and electrolytes, similar to cholera. Rotaviruses are not a serious problem here in developed countries, but in developing countries it's very serious. And there's high risk for infection and also high risk for mortality after infection. HIV/AIDS, considered to be tropical, but as you know, happens worldwide. This is kind of an old data. By 1996, over 13 million adults were living in HIV in sub-Saharan Africa. It's obviously more now, representing about 60% of the global number of infected individuals, and this is true. The majority of HIV cases are in sub-Saharan Africa. Number of infected individuals in Asia is rising, but with the introduction of antiretrovirals, we've seen HIV incidence go down, and severe cases of AIDS also go down. Generally speaking, the initial infection results in relatively minor symptoms, but then it progresses on to very severe symptoms, which is known as AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Weight loss, fever, night sweats, fatigue, recurrent infections. There's no cure that exists for HIV or AIDS. Strict adherence to antiretrovirals can dramatically slow the disease's progress, prevent secondary infections and complications, and prolong life. Transmissible by blood, semen, or vaginal fluids. Very unlikely to be transmitted by saliva. HIV transmission is the result of a complex set of socio-biological, political, economic factors that are sort of overwhelming, but in some sense predictable in many cases. So control of AIDS and HIV is difficult for that reason, because it is so complex. But the introduction of ARVs has dramatically improved people's health and reduced incidence worldwide. And you can see there's vast just differences in the level of prevalence of HIV along in the African continent. Botswana and South Africa have the highest. Other countries have much lower, like Mali, for example. Ebola, which everyone's heard of, presumably due to the outbreak in 2014, which made the news and caused nearly 20,000 deaths. Ebola virus causes fever, severe headache, backache, vomiting, diarrhea, and severe hemorrhaging and death in many, many cases. The method by which Ebola is transmitted in nature and what animal is the natural host remains unclear. Bats are implicated. Contact with primates for the purpose of obtaining food is thought to be a route where disease is transmitted to humans. But there's lots of unknowns about Ebola and its cousin Marburg virus. When humans acquire the infection, it spreads rapidly to those in contact with bodily fluids, primarily to health workers and people caring for the sick in the home or caring for the dead. Lassa fever. Lassa is another often fatal hemorrhagic fever virus. Is transmitted by rodents. Symptoms of Lassa include sharp backache or headache, sore throat, fever, rashes, dehydration, general swelling, skin hemorrhaging, irregular heartbeat, and disorientation, and is a very, very high case fatality rate. Viruses causing several types of South American hemorrhagic fevers belong to the arenavirus family like Lassa and are also carried by rodents. Okay, so that's it. That is a short list of viruses thought to be, considered to be tropical diseases. Next, we're going to talk about bacteria. And so again, if you have any questions or anything you need from me, please reach out because I am here to help you.